You're listening to the Patriot Nation podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation podcast. As always, your guy Pat Lane here with my man Matt St. Jean. And as you know, we are a proud member of the CLNS school or group of podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe all of those. So Greg Bedard and Taylor Kyles and Mike Cadlick and Andrew Callahan and all the great guys that are on here. And don't forget about the Celtics coverage because CLNS started with the Celtics. And here we are after game 5, feeling pretty good, feeling pretty good about where the Celtics are sitting right now. And I'll tell you what, even if you out there don't believe the Celtics can win this series, at the very least, they came out and fought their asses off tonight and won a big game without Jason Tatum and played a fantastic game, all around a great team game.
If you told me 55 hours ago what was going to transpire over these couple days, I would not have believed you. I mean, it is unbelievable. You know, they looked amazing in game 4. You blow a lead, you lose the game, then you lose Tatum. It's like, not only are we done this year, we're done next year. And then Luke Cornett saves you. Jaylen Brown, fantastic. Derek White, like guys are balling out. Incredible scenes, incredible turn of events in this series. We're gonna see what happens in Game 6, but if you're the Knicks, you do not want to have to go back to TD Garden, and it's another. The games this week. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so you don't have a lot of time to watch the tape of Cornette going off on you to make adjustments.
Yeah.
This is going to be a very interesting game on Friday.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. I mean, they played incredibly well today. Nobody really saw this coming. I shouldn't say that. That's not true. I think people saw it coming. I think you kind of
favored.
Yeah, and I think you kind of expected them to come out and play because they weren't just going to roll over, and they still have a good team. But Porzingis is a great player. Something is going on. He's clearly not himself right now.
Joe Mazzulla just said after the game that that's why he took him out, and he said he couldn't breathe, which seems like an important thing to be able to do.
Kind of important. Yeah. So, so Porzingis, I don't know if he's going to play, on Friday. No idea. But at this point, I don't know how you can trust Porzingis to really do anything. At times, Al Horford has looked old and slow in this series, and he had a good night tonight, but, he needs to be used sparingly. You can't play him. He played 24 minutes tonight. That's probably about right. You can't be playing him 35 minutes. You just can't do that. And so if Porzingis isn't going to be able to play and Horford isn't going to be able to play, is going to play only half the game, what you need is for guys like Luke Cornett to step up. And Luke Cornett, oh my God, did he step up? He was blocking everything in sight. 7 blocks, a career playoff high. He was unreal. He was all over the place. He was fantastic tonight. And for a stretch, he was like the best player on the floor. It was unbelievable. He had that one play where he blocked, I don't know who it was, and then chased it down to the baseline, or chased it down to the baseline, saved it out of bounds on the side court, went into the stands, came back down, and then dunked it on the other end. And it was just like, that's like, come on, dude. That was so much fun.
That's the best center play we have seen from the Celtics all postseason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which has kind of been the issue for the team. And I also it's small. The fact that you got 15 minutes from Sam Hauser, knocked down a couple threes, I think is big for this team. They missed him. Just as it's when you look at games 1 and 2 where you can't shoot, you wish you would have had that one extra guy you can go to say, we're just going to put him in and see if he can hit a basket.
Right.
So yeah, this series feels very different now, and you never know if it's a one game. Like Celtics are a good team with good players. These guys don't play like this every single night. So we'll have to see which Celtics players we get on Friday. But like the fact that they won this game, they made it respectable. They made this a series again after the everything that happened in games 1, 2, and 4. I'm gonna take right now and playing with house money.
I'll tell you what, we've been at work. We've been sitting, bouncing around the idea of trading everyone away, just restarting, and doing something like the Mavs did this year, where the Mavs get rid of Luka and they pick up AD, which of course isn't necessarily tanking. So they were dumb, just completely dumb. But AD gets hurt as he always does, and they end up with the number 1 pick and they get Cooper Flag, and it's just like, what the hell, dude? And so maybe you luck into it, right? Maybe you luck into it. This team, as constituted right now, is good enough to get like the 5, 6, maybe. Then you're not in the play-in game. If you make the playoffs, you don't get into the lottery. You don't have a chance. The Mavericks were in the play-in game and lost in the play-in game, and so they ended up with the number 1 pick. And I'm not saying it's going to happen to the Celtics, but it could. And so, if I'm the Celtics, I'm thinking, this is great. I hope they beat the Knicks. I can't imagine they beat the Pacers, but I hope they beat the Knicks. If they can somehow get to the finals without Tatum, maybe we're having a different conversation at the end of the year. But if I'm looking at this team and I'm saying we're probably going to shed money anyways, why don't we just break it down to the studs, get rid of Jaylen Brown, get rid of Porzingis, get rid of Drew Holiday, get rid of those guys, and then you start over.
You mentioned the Mavs. The idea I was kicking around at work is, we saw last year what Jaylen Brown did to Luka Doncic in the finals. And we know how much Nico hated Luka. The real, if you want to get real stupid with it, the idea you toss around is, can we convince Nico that Jaylen Brown is the answer after what he did last year and that he's worth the number 1?
I'll tell you what, if they win this series and he plays great against Indiana, even if they lose, I think you might be able to. And I've been kicking around that idea too. You say you send JB, Holiday, your first-round pick this year, a protected first-round pick next year, and maybe a protected first-round pick the year after that.
I don't even care what else you're sending with JB in this.
Right.
If that's, and I will say, I do feel like the whole trading JB thing is highly contingent on Tatum's recovery. So, like,
of course, yeah.
Because if I thought I saw something earlier today about like Tatum's father thinking he can come back in early 2026, and like we've the fastest Achilles tear guy coming back, I think it was 8 months. Where a guy like really came back. That was actually in the 90s. So like, if Tatum gets real lucky with it, especially with modern medicine and the fact they were able to operate so fast, like if he were to come back in February of next year or the All-Star break next year, or like that is all right. If that is actually on the table here, if that's something that could realistically happen, then you're still playing for next year. As long as you get into the playoffs, Tatum will be back, and you're trying to play for something. That's a real playoff run there that you're trying to gear up for. So, but we're 2 wins away from the Eastern Conference Finals right now.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Also, this is how you know TD is a troll, dude. You trade JT before even thinking about JB. That's wild to me. Wild. There's a reason why Jason Tatum is, a first-team All-NBA. He's one of the best players in the league. Like, that's just, we don't need to go into it.
Well, and the thing with Tatum is that he does everything. Like, the only weakness to his game whatsoever is that his three-point shooting can be a little bit streaky. But he's not even bad at it. It's just streaky. He can get very hot and cold with it. He can defend 1 through 5. He can rebound. He can play make. He can dribble drive. He can defend like as a help defender, a weak side defender. He's great in that role. He's super switchable. And he knocks down threes, and he has mid-range moves. Like, right. It's not. I don't know if Jason Tatum has one superstar trait, but in a playoff series, what matters more than anything else is not having weaknesses. for a guy like that, and he doesn't have a single one. There's nothing you can say, all right, if we can make him do this, we can limit him.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him, he does every single thing at a, what do you call it? Like, I keep wanting to say Pro Bowl, all-star level. Every single aspect of his game is like at an all-star level. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, all right. Okay. Let's get into some football. That's what we're really here for. Let's get into football. The Patriots, of course, just like the rest of the NFL, finally released their schedule tonight. Matt, you did a great job, I thought, of kind of breaking everything down and going through each one of them before it happened, and combing through all of the leaks to get the exact schedule. And so, hats off to you, kudos to you, nice work.
Thank you. Have you ever played like Sudoku?
Yeah, I play Sudoku every day.
You know how when you play it, you like kind of pencil in what could be in each box?
Yeah,
I had a Google sheet going, and that is literally what I was doing. Process of elimination. I'll have to share a screenshot with you later. Trying to process of elimination, figure out when they were playing all these games.
I love the commitment.
Well, I like it. It's fun. I will say, before we get into the schedule, there are certain people poo-pooing, the idea of a scheduled release. And I get it. We're literally announcing when games are going to be played. It's not the sexiest thing in the world, but I just think it's fun. It's an event. There's hype around it. It gets me going. Like, I just enjoy that. But I think in a way that's kind of unlike a lot of other sports, football is very procedural. Like, you listen to Bill Belichick talk. We've listened to him talk for years about how September is an extension of the preseason, and you want to be playing your best football by Thanksgiving. Like, it's not in football, you are learning as the season goes along. Things are actively changing and developing as the season goes along. What wins you a game in September might not do it in November, might not do it in the playoffs, because the league adjusts to things that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So the order in which you play your opponents can be massive. And we might not know right now exactly where that's going to matter, but things like when you play a rookie quarterback, when you play teams that tend to start strong or fade late, teams that might have injury issues. If there's a team that's injured every year, but you're getting them week 1, that's a different animal.
Correct. Yeah.
And then the last part on that, we know how what the media says about you will oftentimes have a real impact on the decisions you make as an organization.
It's true.
So if the way your schedule is, if your last 6 games are all really hard, or your first 6 games are all really hard, well, maybe that means that, you're going to end the season by losing 6 in a row, or you're going to start the season by losing 6 in a row. That's going to determine, who's starting a quarterback for you, what moves you're making going into the offseason, how well, it's determined that you learned during the season and grew and changed things. Because sometimes I think we can over-index on the way things change throughout the season. And one team to look at is going to be the Giants here. Like, they have a crazy hard start to their schedule. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so that sets them up for a scenario where they lose their 7 of their first 8 games and then win 4 of their last 9. And it doesn't mean that they got better. It means it's the teams they played. But then you can tell right now, this 9 months we might be talking about, the Giants finished strong. They're going in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. And it's one of those funny things. And I also think, too, there's so few games that it matters so much more, right? And I also think, too, that the back and forth with Miami, right? Miami playing in New England playing in Miami, that matters, right? When Miami's playing here, when we're playing down there, that matters to how people play, And I also think, too, as a fan as a guy who takes a road trip every year to see the Patriots, that matters, right? Like, when we're going to go makes a difference. I want to go. I'm going to New Orleans this year, which we'll talk about when we get to that game. I'm going to New Orleans this year. And I was just couldn't wait. I said, okay, well, it can't be after Thanksgiving because I have basketball. And, I got to figure out what weekend it is, and we'll see if it works and so on and so forth. And I got this. I'm like, all right, I'm playing this thing in my head. Like, when do they get there? Well, if I'm the Celtics, if I'm, they're playing the Celtics and I'm saying, all right, I want to go to Dallas or whatever. Well, they're probably going to Dallas more than once, right? And so I have an opportunity to get down there more than what they play 82 games. If I'm following the Red Sox and I'm saying, hey, I want to get out to LA to see them play the Dodgers or the Angels, but they're going to get there a few times. So there's not one set date that we're like, hey, this is the only time you can get there, right? So those things matter more when you're talking about the NFL schedule. And I think that all of those things combine into, this kind of schedule release. And of course, it's really what it's really turned into is the social marketing team, right? Trying to come up with the best ideas and make the most creative and inventive videos. And I still think the best one of all time is the original 2023 Tennessee Titans one. And the Chargers kill it every year. The Chargers are incredible every year. They had another awesome one with Minecraft, but the 2023 one with the Titans, I thought was so original, and it was so cool how they were asking people like what it was, and then they flashed like the name they came up with, which obviously was wrong, and then like with like the team, it was hysterical, and it was just like it was so like pure and like fun, and like I remember the Falcons, like the girl that did the Falcons, she called them the Red Stallions. And the Falcons changed their Twitter name to Red Stallions for like a week and a half. It was hysterical. And so everyone was kind of on board with it. And like, that's the type of stuff where it's like, that's where it gets fun, And I think that, to see these sports organizations kind of get in on the fun of it, to me is cool. And that's, it's cheesy and corny and whatever, but I think it's cool.
I still think that Chargers anime one is my favorite one. I think
that
one is sick. I'm not even an anime guy. I just think that's a sick video. They did that in-house.
Well,
going back for a second.
They put so many, like, the thing about the Chargers that really impresses me is they put so many little tiny pieces of detail into each one of those things, right? Like the one this year, they had like, they were rounding up, like when they played the Broncos, they were rounding up like Broncos. And then it says like, you've required
I haven't watched
53.
the Bears yet this year.
So it's a Minecraft. It's a Minecraft one, but
it was like Minecraft.
And then it was like, you've acquired 53 donkeys, and it was like, dude, that's hysterical. Like that's so funny. And then they're playing the Colts, and it's like a racing one or whatever, and it's like Anthony Richardson, and it's like, oh no, like Anthony Richardson ran out of fuel or something like that. And it's just like it's so like. So they add in these like little things that are like poking fun at the team about something that's happened before or whatever. So, it's like at the beginning of the press conference of what's it called when they play in the Jaguars, it's like a press conference and there's a bunch of Jaguars like the coach is at the front. He's going Duval, but it's like oh my god, it's just stupid. But that's the type of stuff that really makes it good.
Yeah, I gotta watch that one. Going back for a second, you mentioned the way like time of year matters for schedule too. I forgot about it, but last year when the Dolphins schedule came out, everyone looked at it and saw, oh, you got to go to Green Bay, Cleveland, and New York after Thanksgiving, the team that famously struggled in cold weather in the playoffs against the Chiefs. That previous season, that was an immediate, oh, all right, time to get on your big boy pants and go win a game in the cold. You're going to have to do it. And they went 8-9 this year, and they lost 2 of those 3 games.
Yep.
So, like, that is also...
And guess where they play? And guess where they play in January this year?
They play in Buffalo, right? Oh, my cat is saying hi. I don't know if you can hear her.
Oh no, I cannot hear her. Hello.
She might jump up here in a second.
I thought you were talking about the Dolphins. Were you talking about the Dolphins?
Last year, yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying the Dolphins this year play in New England to end the season. Yeah.
Idiot.
They might also play in Buffalo too, but they do play in New England in the season.
Yeah, no, you are 100% correct on that. I just was not thinking.
So
yeah, all right. Without further ado, do we want to go through this one by one?
Well, let's get through it. Let's get into it. By the way, speaking about schedule release, this is the last one to talk about it. The Portnoy thing was awful, just god awful. I have no idea. I just have no idea. I don't get it. I didn't find it funny. I just don't. It just was stupid. And, it's not, I just don't, like, what are we doing? All these people are coming up with these, like, super creative ideas. I thought the egg drop one was cute. It wasn't, like, anything incredible, but it was cute. It wasn't really, like, I guess it was a schedule release, kind of, but it wasn't really, like, a schedule release. but it was cool. It was a lot better than the Portnoy thing. The Portnoy thing was just stupid.
Well, like the key to these videos is it's got to be, max of probably 3 minutes. It's got to be something you can send your buddy and say, hey, like, check this out. Or send your dad or your mom and say, hey, isn't this cool? Like, that's the part of the point of these is you got to be able to share it with people. And that Portnoy one's like 6 minutes of a dude just standing there cracking bad one-liners.
Nothing happens. He's just like telling jokes, and you're like, okay.
It's too long. Like, I'm not gonna get into the whole Dave Portnoy of it, but the fact that they picked such a controversial person, I don't think helps you there. They could have gone the lovable route. You put Edelman up there and have him crack jokes. If it's Edelman up there, you let him crack jokes, and it's 3 minutes. It's gonna do so much better. Even though I think that's still lazy and uninspired.
I agree. Well, and like, look what they did last year. Look how much detail they went into last year, and they did and you don't have to do that every year, but like, I thought that was so fascinating the way they did that. Now, maybe they look at it and say, yeah, our money just isn't as well spent that way. You know what I mean? But like the AI, so the Bills, did you see the Bills AI one?
No.
The Bills AI one was fantastic. Josh Allen's like shooting hoops, and Brandon Beane calls him and is like, hey, we got to do the schedule release video. He's like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I don't know, just use AI. Everyone's using AI. Like, whatever, And so he's just shooting hoops or whatever. And he's like, use AI. Okay, all right. So he's like, starts typing the thing. But he gets in a Zoom call with Allen Iverson. And he's like, what? He's like, what am I doing here? And he's like, yeah, we want you to introduce. And he's like, the Buffalo Bills? He's like, Josh Allen. That's what he's like, all right, cool. I like Josh Allen. And so I kid you not, he has a piece of paper. If I had a piece of paper in my hand, he has a piece of paper and he goes, here's the 2025 Bills schedule. And he just holds up the paper this far away from the camera. You can't see it. This far away from the camera. And he's like, all right, cool. And then he's like, can we get a go Bills? And he's like, no, I'll say go Josh Allen. And that's it. And then like, and they make some joke about, AI or whatever. And it was like, that's hilarious because it's so stupid. And like, but you don't waste, it's not a 6-minute video. It's a minute and a half. You know what I mean? Like, that's perfect.
Yeah. If I like send this to one of my friends, it's just going to get no reaction. They're just not going to watch it. Right. And that's probably the biggest issue with the Patriots one. And it's just like, I hate the idea that our money shouldn't be spent that way. Right. Okay. Everyone is spending some amount of money on this. Literally everyone is. So when you're the only franchise that says our money isn't worth spending this way, you're immediately being the odd one out and not in a good way.
And you probably didn't pay Portnoy for that. Portnoy was like, I'll do it for free. I'm sure.
Well,
and it was like, that's fine. But it's just like, okay, you're being cheap for this. Like, what are we doing? I don't know.
But especially when you're a franchise that has been routinely accused of being cheap. Right. We have argued at points unfairly, but I don't really see anything other like this has just been cheap on it. There's no other call spade a spade.
Yeah, I agree. So, whatever. It's frustrating because that there's a ton of people that work super hard in that building, and they put a ton of work into last year's one, and it came out awesome. And then this year, it just feels like they couldn't come up with any ideas. And some guy was like, "Hey, what if we just have like Dave Portnoy get up and talk?" And it's like, what? Okay, sure, let's do it. It's just like, I don't know. Seems like you didn't do anything for your like project, and you like threw something together in the last minute. So, anyways, all right, let's get into the schedule. Week 1 at home against the Raiders, 1:00. By the way, you'll notice a trend here. The Patriots have 0, count them, 0 home 4:30 games, 4:00 games. They have 1 road 4:25 game, and then they have 3 primetime games. So it's not that I hate the 1:00 games. I don't hate the 1:00 games. I don't enjoy the 1:00 games as much. The perfect time for a football game to be played, in my opinion, is 4:25. It's the perfect time for a football game to be played because halfway through or sometimes at halftime, it's dark out, but it's not dark out at the beginning. But you're also not getting home at 1:00 in the morning. Like you're getting to the stadium around 11:30 or noon. Like it's the perfect time to play a football game. And instead, all of our home games are freaking 1:00. And then we do have one, I think, Monday night game. Yes. Yeah. And then a Thursday night game as well. So, but anyways, that's neither here nor there, but it's just like, it was so frustrating. I'm like, come on, like whatever. So, all right. Anyways, Nikhil, thanks for coming through. Appreciate it. Staple of our late nights, of his late nights, I should say. Week 1 against the Raiders, 1 o'clock. Win or loss? What do you think, Matt?
Well, I feel like we should, before we give a win or loss, we should talk a little bit about the game.
No. No.
I think this is very interesting. 20 years before this was the opener in 05 against the Raiders, where you got, Vrabel and Brady playing for the Patriots in that one. Brady over 300 yards in that game. Vrabel had a sack. And now Vrabel's going to be coaching for the Pats 20 years later when they're playing in the opener. And Brady is a partial owner of the Raiders. So the way that things changed there, this is a bad Raiders team. Like, they are not, like, there are aspects of this Raiders team I think concern me from the Patriots, specifically Max Crosby.
Right.
And they got some decent weapons on offense, but like you should be able to compete with this team in the trenches, I think, overall. And if you can compete with the team in the trenches, you got the better quarterback, I think you should win.
I agree. And Ashton Jeanty, of course, the first-round pick. I think it takes a few weeks for a running back to kind of get up to speed in the NFL. So I don't, this is a perfect example of, like, if we're playing them mid-season, I might feel a little bit differently about what we're going to see from Ashton Jeanty. I don't think he has 150 yards on the ground week 1. And so, and you get Geno Smith, but what do you have for weapons out there? You have Jacoby Myers. Did they pick up a receiver this year? I don't think they did they? Not to my recollection, at least. So, you're not talking about a ton of weapons there in Vegas. And so, to me, that feels like a W. And so,
they got they have it's
Jacoby
Myers, Trey Tucker, and Jack Bash.
Yeah, right. I like Bash a lot, but, like, again, rookie wide receiver. You're talking about him being, Trey Tucker is your number 2. Like, that's not ideal.
Well, they don't have not a great offensive line. It's a bad line, honestly.
Yeah.
I will say this is the second year in a row you're going to have Geno Smith coming into town for your opener.
It's true.
Which is interesting. So that'll be a test. I keep forgetting from the Raiders. That'll be a good test for your defense to see if you're better, but also these receivers are worse than the ones that the Seahawks had when they came to town last year by a significant margin.
I would agree.
Yeah, so, like, I don't think Ashton Jeanty himself is going to beat you. So just, protect up front. You got Max Crosby. Christian Wilkins is good. Malcolm Kuntz can rush. Adam Butler returning into town, too, for the Raiders there.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, that back end is really nothing special. If you could block up just a little bit, you don't have to be good. You just have to be better than what the Raiders are doing on the other side. And, like, obviously, when the Seahawks and Patriots played last year, that game goes to overtime, and Drake May doesn't even play in that game.
Yeah.
So I think making out duel Geno Smith, once you look at who's on these lines, if you lose, though, it's going to be because Wilkins and Crosby are in May's lap all day.
I agree. All right, week 2. We talked about this a little bit already, but in Miami, week 2, 1 o'clock, Sunday, September 14th. Patriots have just always struggled in Miami. It's a house of horrors for New England for years now. I think Miami is certainly on the down trend, and I agree with that. However, they do still have a lot of weapons on offense. They do still have Tua. And I think while I don't think they can hold up throughout the year, I do think that they're good enough to at least start the season pretty well. And so this is a situation where they're going to play later on in the year, and my feelings about the game are very different, also because it's being played in January in New England. But in this week 2 matchup, I see I could easily, and I actually think it's going to happen, see the Patriots going down and losing that game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's like you said, House of Horrors. They should be healthy. When we were saying all that stuff before about, teams that will tend to start hot or finish hot, or where weather is important, I was thinking of the Dolphins. They usually start hot and fade as the season goes along. I think they're probably going to win this one. It'll be close, but yeah, I think they end up taking this in what'll be a hot environment down there, a nice steamy one, and
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you go back and forth and like, well, the Patriots struggle down there in the winter because it's so cold up here and it's warm down there. And I agree with that. But the same thing is true down there, right? Early in the year, at those 1 o'clock games, it's hot up here, but it's not hot it's not Miami hot up here. And that sun beats down on that sideline, and it's like 125 degrees on that sideline, and you're just not ready for it. You're just not ready for it. And I think early in the season, it's tough to play down there. And so that's one, a big reason why the Patriots was. And again, I think the Dolphins are a good team. And I do think they'll fade, but I think they'll look like a good team at least for the first half of the season, maybe even a little bit longer. And they'll probably finish same way they did last year, 8-9, maybe 9-8, maybe miss the playoffs, maybe sneak in, who knows? But they're good enough at least to, I think, win this game. So I have them at 1-1 now, I guess. And then the next game, back home, Sunday, September 21st, again, 1:00, hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers with, I guess, Justin. No, he's the Jets quarterback now. Who the hell is the Steelers quarterback now? Oh, probably going to be Aaron Rodgers, right? No one yet. But probably going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for me to pick Aaron Rodgers.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think this is one of those games that's going to be incredibly low scoring. It's going to be physical on both sides.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots have the right coach to win these games. I don't think the roster is there to win these games quite yet. It's Mike Tomlin's a better coach than Mike Vrabel was. You're going to have the better quarterback this day, almost definitely. But I think you probably lose on the line of scrimmage, no matter who has the ball. And I think that's going to be tough. This feels like one of those games you lose 16-13, and you're looking back at, a couple sacks you shouldn't have taken, or a run that got stuffed, or, a fumble or a pick that gets thrown somewhere. And I will say, Josh McDaniels does scheme well against the Steelers.
Yep.
But we also saw some of those, 2018, 2017, I think it was 2018 when they went to Pittsburgh with no Gronk, they couldn't score. They scored 10 points, and 7 of them came on the first play from scrimmage to Chris Hogan.
Right.
So this is going to be a tough team to score against, I think. They got TJ Watt, they got Cam Hayward, adding Derek Harmon to that line now. They got some fast linebackers. I don't like this matchup for New England. I think they can win it, but if there was a different coach, I would pick the Patriots. But because it's Mike Tomlin, I'm picking the Steelers.
Yeah, and it's it's interesting because you almost feel like that's not the case, right? But you look at their offensive line. I think they have a solid offensive line. I like Broderick Jones. I loved Fautanu coming out, and I'm happy. He's at right guard. He's at right tackle. I loved Mason McCormick coming out last year. He's at right guard. And then they have Zach Frazier, and I think it's going to be. I'm not sure who their left guard is. To be very honest with you, I'm not sure who their left guard is going to be. And they did pick up TK Metcalf this year, so they at least have a number one wide receiver. And then you look defensively, and you're talking about TJ Watt and Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson and Alex Highsmith, and they picked up Darius Slay, who we'll see how Darius Slay plays, but Minka Fitzpatrick and Joey Porter Jr. And you start looking around, and you're like, they have a solid roster. Their roster is better than people think, and I'm not saying that we can't beat the Steelers, right? And people are saying we can beat the Steelers, and I agree, we can beat the Steelers. I just think, and I agree with you here, Matt, that the Patriots are going to struggle a little bit early on in the season, and I can see them struggling in this game, right? I don't know if they're going to be quite ready to win this game yet, and maybe they will, but I see this probably as a loss.
I think the Steelers have a 10-7 roster, but with no quarterback. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how it pans out. One other note on this: a game like this is probably going to end up being close. Have to have a rookie kicker right now. In a close game, I'm not really going to lean New England's way because I'm not confident that they're going to have a kicker who can make these kicks. And all right, if this game is coming down to crunch time, all right, is it going to be TJ Watt against a rookie left tackle out there? Right. Is it going to come down to our rookie kicker's leg? If it's DK Metcalf against Christian Gonzalez, I think I feel good about that, especially with the quarterback situation over there. If it's their offensive line against our run defense trying to seal a game, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't love that.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
hate it either, but I think this
No,
is
but
like
you're
a 60-40 coin flip type game.
yeah, I agree. I agree. So we got them at 1-2 right now.
Yeah.
A little bit. By the way, I
I
saw
thought
what
you had
Mike
them.
Hadlick.
I thought you had them winning.
I had them losing. I saw. I have them. I saw what Mike Hadlick and Taylor Kyles did earlier on, right after the schedule was released. We will not be as rosy as they were. So just buckle up because that ain't coming from us. We're going to be realistic. I think that we're going to have them maybe as a little bit better record than maybe I had anticipated earlier. But I don't know. I don't feel great about it. So, anyways, 1-2 right now. Sunday, September 28th, 1:00 again, home against the Carolina Panthers. This is the one to me. And listen, Bryce Young took some steps last year. Absolutely took some steps last year. And I'm hesitantly saying that I expect him to be better and continue to get better. But I never liked Ted McMillan. I just didn't see it with Ted McMillan. And so maybe he proves me wrong, right? But I don't know. I don't love him. Leggett was up and down last year as a rookie. I worry about that team and their ability to score points. And their defense is fun and young for the most part, but I just think they're not very good, and they're probably going to be drafting in the top 10 again next year. And so I have the Patriots winning this game. I wouldn't say easily, but I feel like this is one of the easier games in their schedule.
I have the Pats winning this one. You're at home. I think like this Panthers defensive line and their pass rush is not something that really scares me at this point. Derek Brown's a good player. They have Nick Scorton, who I like. And they got some decent defensive tackles. I think they'll probably be able to hold up against the run at points. This to me looks like a team that they're going to be able to throw on. There's 7. Am I counting this correctly? Oh wait, no, there's more than that. There's no corners on this roster though. It's J.C. Horn and a bunch of guys you've never heard of, and I mean never heard of.
Right.
So, I think that you'll be able to throw on this team. You'll be able to score some points, and this is a game you win 23-10. I think Bryce Young is better, but I also none of these Panthers receivers scare me right now. I like T-Mac, but I think Christian Gonzalez is also the type of corner you want against T-Mac. So so I'm that's a matchup you like. So I'm not super worried about them. I think you win this one.
Agreed. All right. Sunday, October 5th, the first primetime game in Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. No. No one's talking me into this. Nobody. I don't care what the freaking chat says. I don't care what anyone says. No one's talking me into a Sunday Night Football game in Buffalo. No shot. 2-3.
No,
do we have to even discuss it? 2-3.
The only thing I'm going to say, I think it's nice that you go up there and it's not going to be cold.
I agree. I agree with that.
You might have a more interesting game because this might end up being higher scoring than you think. Both teams are able to move the ball. Maybe variable makes it interesting and you're tougher and physical and your identity shows up and it's, you lose this one 27-20 with the Bills kind of controlling for most of it and you get a backdoor cover on it.
Yeah.
That's all tough. The only other point I'd mention, we barely mentioned it before, but there's the rivalries series uniform thing that's coming out this year for the NFL. So all the AFC East teams and one other division, I forget which one, but we're all going to have an extra uniform, and you got to wear it for one of your home games against a division opponent. Primetime home game against a division opponent here for the Bills. So the Bills might end up wearing theirs against the Pats here.
Yeah.
Which would be two straight games between the Bills and the Pats where they're wearing an alternate, or 2 straight home games for them because they wore the Reds last year.
That's interesting. I don't know. I'm curious to see what those look like. I'm also surprised. I thought since this year the Patriots could change their uniform that they would. And they still could, right? But I'm just surprised that they haven't announced anything yet.
No, I mean we're past the point where they would have announced it because they're doing all the promo and pictures with the old
right.
uniforms. It's too late.
So that's the end of that,
Which
right?
and if they're keeping the old uniforms, just wearing the silver pants more, then that's fine. These are good uniforms.
Yeah, I'm
I
okay
like
with that.
them. You start
Yeah.
winning with them, people are going to come around. So
I agree. Did anyone change their uniforms this year?
no,
I think
no changes.
did Houston change something? Or maybe they just
Nope.
added something. I don't know.
There's going to be like more alternates and things like that this year.
Yeah. So I guess maybe people
But
aren't
no,
changing them as much because they have those stupid whatever.
the rivalries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Week 6.
week 6 in New Orleans, at 4:25.
420. Yeah.
Yes, at 4:25. I will be there. I'll be in the house. I haven't bought my tickets to the game yet, but I did. By the way, the schedule's out, right? If you're taking a road trip, like, what are you waiting for? Don't wait. Go out and and plan your trip like now, before the prices start to go up, before things start to happen, before the season starts, right? Go out and plan your trip now, right? I already purchased my Airbnb. I guess VRBO is what I went through, but still, same idea. I already went through. Already done. It's already done. So, get that thing going, and then worry about flights later or whatever. But anyways, in New Orleans, I'm excited for this. You know what's interesting? You know what's ironic about this, Matt, is that the last 3 times the Saints have been in New England, I have not been in attendance because I've been in a wedding, and now the Patriots are going to New Orleans, and I will be in attendance.
What's the last time? When was the last time you saw the New Orleans Saints in person? Because you weren't
I wasn't there in
there
2013. So 8
and you
years
weren't
before
there in
2013.
21, and you weren't there
No,
in 23.
right.
So it's got to be 05.
It's wild. It's insane that
Yeah.
05 is the last time I saw the Saints. And
And before that,
I
01.
guess I'd have to go back. I don't know if I was there in 05. I guess I'd have to go back and
Go through
and
your pictures,
look
your
at the
team tickets
archives
or
and see
whatever.
if I was there. And imagine if I missed that game too. That would be wild.
That'd be great.
But anyways, so this game, look, the Saints have a decent roster. They have Olave, who I love. I don't know if he's going to survive the year, but I love Olave. They picked up Brandon Cooks this year. They have Rashid Shaheed. They drafted Calvin Banks, who I think is a good player. But Tyler Shook is starting for them at quarterback.
Or Spencer Rattler.
Or Spencer Rattler. Yes, or Spencer Rattler. I just can't buy into it. I can't do it. Their defense is a hot mess too. I know they've Kool-Aid McKinstry, but he's not good. They have Tyrann Mathieu, but I don't know. I just I don't buy into it.
What I will say is this: you're on the road. When it gets going, that's a really good home environment for the Saints.
Very true. Yep, very true.
I look at this defense. Rasee and Godshaw in the middle of that defense, I think could actually be really solid. That could be real hard time running against them. Chase Young's fine as a pass rusher. And then I look at that linebacker group, and it's all right, Pete Werner's a good player. Demario Davis is a good player. You have the secondary. Justin Reed's a good player. Tyrann Mathieu's a smart player. I look at this defense, and I feel like they're really solid up the middle. And they have a decent offensive line and some decent receivers. I don't know. On the road, a team that can probably beat you on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. This feels a lot like the Steelers game to me. The coaches aren't quite as good. So, and the Saints don't have that one pass rusher like TJ Watt. But I don't know. The fact that you're on the road for this one, I don't love. Panthers just had so many issues against the Saints recently too. You get the 2023 and 2021 games are disgusting.
Which is very true. Yep.
Yeah.
And what was the game? The 09 game, right? In New Orleans was a disaster too.
Blowout as well. Only that 2017 game down there has been good for us. I know that the quarterback situation is really bad there, and I know that our quarterback situation is much better. Look at this Patriots roster. The Patriots are going to have a number of games this season where they have the best quarterback on the field, and they're going to lose anyway because they can't win in the trenches. And I'm not going to trust that this team is going to win in the trenches until I see them do it with the players they have. I think they're better, but to me, it's very close to me. This is a loss.
I mean, it's interesting that it certainly could happen. I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Man, I just think they don't have a quarterback. Like they just don't. They don't have a quarterback. They're a team that is injured all the time. Um, I don't know if I can get on board with. I don't know if I can get on board with it with the loss,
Fair.
but hey, it's possible. It's
I
it's
think
certainly possible. I'm not saying they're going to go in and blow them out. I just look at it and just say like, I don't love
yeah.
Kellen Moore as their coach. Like I don't know. I just think the Saints are in a rebuild mode, and I also think, as Randy says, I don't know about rough take, but if the Saints tank now, right?
I mean, they're not
There's a
tanking.
chance that. But I'm just saying now,
They're
if
not
the
tanking. They
Saints
just
were to
have no
tank,
cap space and they're bad at drafting.
yes, but if they
They
were to
have
tank, just think about this, Matt. Arch Manning gets to go play where his
oh,
grandfather played. That's
if he
pretty
comes
cool.
out after this year.
You got to
Here's the
assume
thing.
he
I
does.
think this Saints roster to me is just too good to be like number one Vic level. There's just too many good players. If they stay decently healthy, they're probably going to be like a 6 to 7 win team. They don't play in a particularly strong division.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, like they're bad, but they're like pick 6 bad. They're not pick 1 bad to me.
That's a fair point.
Um,
That's a fair point. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the fact
All
this is
right.
a 425 game is interesting to me, by the way.
Yes. Well, and
I don't
I
understand
think the
why.
Saints play a lot of 425 games though, just because that's just where they are. Just time zone and things like that. Not
Are
that they're like a
they
super late time zone, but they are a later time zone.
Central? The Bears don't get a lot of 425 games.
Yeah, they do. Well, I mean, the Patriots. They played the Patriots. I guess they played the Patriots in 1 o'clock game last year.
Yeah, they just get a lot of noon local time games.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair point.
Yeah.
All right, week 7
Uh,
in Tennessee, 1 o'clock game, October 19th. Mike Vrabel's return. I go back and forth on this one. I think that the Patriots should probably win this game. Yeah. No. The Patriots are going to win this game. I think Cam Ward, rookie quarterback, going against a defense that I think will be coached up well enough to win, and that the players are going to be playing super hard for him, and so I think the Patriots win this game.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think an interesting note about this, Pat's getting 3 road games in a row here. They have not had 3 road games in a row since 2020, and that year 2 of them were in LA back to back. It's when they blew out the Chargers and then had a Thursday night game against the Rams and just could not move the football. The last time before that they had 3 in a row was 2017, kind of near the end of the season. That game in Buffalo where Gronk got suspended. Then the Monday night game when Gronk couldn't play because of the suspension. They just could not move the ball against the Dolphins. And then at the Steelers, or I think it was at the Steelers after that, which I believe they also lost. No, sorry, that's the game that they won with the catch, the tight end at the goal line where he dropped the ball and the Patriots got the pick.
Okay.
So anyway, I look at this stretch here. New Orleans and Tennessee are not that far apart geographically. I see a world where the Patriots decide that they are going to go up to Tennessee after this and they're going to practice in Tennessee for a week. And
Yes.
I think it'll be great for the chemistry of the team. You can build into this. But, Vrabel's going to know this roster well, and he's going to have the guys motivated for this one. Like, I don't even care about some of the X's and O's for this one. I just think the Patriots are going to want this one more, and they're going to pull out a W.
I think that'll be cool. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it'd be cool to stay down there, and then just kind of just why not stay down there? I think that's great. I think that's a really cool little bonding trip for them.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm a fan of it. So again, I think they win this game, and so for me right now, I have them at 4-3.
And I've got 3 and 4.
And you get 3 and 4, right? Yeah, so close.
Yeah.
All right, next game at home against the Browns, week 8, 1 o'clock game again. The Browns are a dumpster fire. The Browns are an absolute dumpster fire. I just can't. I can't pick the Browns to beat the Patriots. I can't do it. I can't do it. Sorry, I can't do it. The Browns are a joke of a franchise.
I've got the Browns here. Their defense is good.
Do.
They got a lot of good players. Like, I look at Myles Garrett against Will Campbell, and I think that is a horrendous mismatch for the Patriots.
That I
and
agree
I think May might be running a lot, trying to get away from him. I'm also worried. Like, Vrabel spent time with the Browns last year, and that might work out for us, but that also might not. Browns might be a little bit motivated there, and I don't think this is a good Browns team, but like, it's Joe Flacco under center for them. He's fine. He's not good, but he's fine. You can win games with him. So like, a game you can win, yes. I really do not like how this defense matches up against what the Patriots are going to be doing on offense. I think the Patriots are going to have a hard time scoring. I mean, I think there's a lot of games on the schedule here where I look and I think it's going to be very low scoring games on both sides, and it's going to be ugly. It's just going to come down to who's able to win it at the end.
Yeah, and I see that, right? But outside of Myles Garrett, and I like Mason Graham, right? Their first round pick from this year, but like Emily Collins is fine. JOK is not playing.
No,
right?
he's done.
I love Carson Schlesinger, but like he's a rookie, right? And maybe he'll be great. Who knows, right? But like Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, like
it's a good
players.
secondary.
It
Ward's
is.
a good player. Newsom's a good player. Emerson's a good player. Don't sleep on those safeties either.
Yeah.
When this defense is healthy and the guys play connected, it's a top, I don't know, borderline top 5 unit in the league. They had was it 2023? They had the best defense and got into the playoffs. You know, we're not that far removed from that.
No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. You know, yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. I understand what you're saying. I think if the Browns defense can play well enough to muck it up, that they can then beat the Patriots, right? I just don't know if I buy that. That they can do enough. I just don't think the Browns offensively can do enough. And so that's,
I just hate that particular pass rusher matchup. Like I think the Patriots, especially McDaniels, has been good for a while at neutralizing top pass rushers, but you also got to have the guys to do it. And like, I think they're probably going to be able to put Myles Garrett on the left side of the Patriots offensive line, and he'll do what he wants to do, and he might have
be right.
Sacks.
You might be right, but to me, I think you chip that guy, you help out on that guy. Like I think if you really were
that last year,
but they also had Vidarian Lowe. Like it's not like you're hoping to get an upgrade at left tackle, and you're hoping that your right tackle is good enough that you feel like okay, you can't just go on either side, right? Mm-hmm. And so to me, I think it's good enough for them to win. Now, am I 100% confident about that? No, but I if I'm picking today, I'm picking the Patriots to win that game.
Yeah, I do think most of these games I think are going to be close. Like I feel really good about the Vegas win. I feel like the Buffalo loss is definite. Yeah. All these other games to me are coin flips, and I think over the course of the season here, once we go through this for the games that I think are coin flips, I think I have them 50-50. Wins
and so that's the thing. If the Browns and the Saints games are both coin flips and they win one of them, then I wouldn't necessarily. And by the way, people are over here talking about 10, 11, 12 wins. I mean, like, I know everyone's excited. I get it. I know you're excited, and I don't blame you for being excited. I don't blame you for being excited. I'm not going to yuck your yum, but like, my God, man, this roster is not a 12-win roster. It just isn't. It isn't. I'm sorry. Like,
if it's a 12-win roster, it's going to be because Drake May comes out and plays like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL today. Mm-hmm. Like that's going to be why. And if he does, that's awesome. If that's how Drake May comes out and plays next year, you're in great shape. I think he has the ability to do it. I
agree.
I'm just going to be hitting the brakes on it a little bit until we start to see what this line is going to look like and how much time he's going to have to do anything.
Yeah, and I will say, right? And Paper Wave says, like, we're underselling the talent on offense. I think that you're not wrong about that. But as I've said before, there is a non-zero chance that the receiving core is a dumpster fire again this year. You got the same guys as last year. You brought in Stephon Diggs, excuse me, who's old and coming off an ACL. You brought in Kyle Williams, a third-round rookie. And you brought in, Mac Hollins. I think you're going to be better. But, like, how much better are we talking about? So that's the thing for me.
There's a real chance that, like, your wide receiving core is going from 31st to 26th. Your pass blocking unit is going from 32nd to 27th. You're making those improvements, which you'll see. You're going to play closer games. You're going to win more of them. But you're also, you're still going to be playing some close games against bad teams because the Patriots are, like, not really that good in the trenches right now. On both sides of the ball, like, I feel better about defensive tackle, but we still don't know what Barmore is going to be. We still don't know what Milton Williams looks like when you're asking him to play 75, 80% of the snaps on defense. We don't know what the edge rush is really going to look like for this team. So, like, there's still – it's going to be high variance, but –
right. And
yeah.
And this is – I just want to – this is – I agree wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly do I agree with this take. You guys are being a bit delusional. However, he's talking to us. I'm talking to them. So, listen.
I love you,
9 wins isn't the floor. Like, come on now. Like, that's
the line for this team right now is 7.5 wins, which I think is fair. It's also, like, right now, we don't know what these other teams are going to look like. There's probably going to be some players on these teams to play significantly better and significantly worse than what we're expecting them to be right now. And, like, that could turn some of these games, into very different. Like, if Tyler Shuck comes out and plays well for New Orleans, that might not even be a winnable game if New Orleans is. Well, he has some good tape.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing for me is that there's a ton of question marks with the Patriots right now. Because we're Patriots fans, right? We want to think only the best outcome will happen, right? Stephon Diggs looks great in his training, which he does. He looks great in his rehab. He'll be ready for week 1 and he's good to go. Like, we don't know that. He could be, but we don't know that. Kyle Williams, is a young Stephon Diggs, which a lot of people have said, right? And he kind of has molded his game off of Stephon Diggs. I get it. But, like, he's a third-round rookie. There's a reason he was drafted in the third round. If he was as good as people thought he was going to be, probably would have gone in the first round, right? Like, and so, there's a lot of those questions. And again, I listen, if everything goes right for the Patriots and all of the best things happen and they get the good side of everything, yeah, absolutely. They're going to be awesome, right? And by the way, Nikhil points out that Nico Collins went in the third. I will just point out that Nico Collins was useless, and I mean useless, for the first 2 or 3 years of his career because he was hurt and on and off about different things. So he's a great player now. Was not that player's rookie year. So,
Well,
just pump the brakes. That's all.
Well, look, we just took guys roughly valued how Kyle Williams was last year, and those guys, like Jalen Bulk, was widely considered a better prospect last year than Kyle Williams is this year, and we know how that went.
Right.
So, like, I'm hoping that all these guys pan out the way they do, but I'm also going to be consistent in my evaluations of the team. Like, I'm not as high on Will Campbell as other people are. I love Trevion Henderson. I think he's awesome. He's going to be running back too. I don't think he's going to make a significant difference here in wins and losses. Right. I like Kyle Williams. I'm not even sure he's going to be a starter on this team. Like, I think that the floor is very low for him and the ceiling is very high. And I'm not going to assume he's a great player until we see a little more. Like, I think we should probably redo this after the 3 preseason games, after the 53-man roster set, once we've gotten a little better idea of who these players are, because this is just what these rosters looked like last year, plus our priors on these players, and those are going to change in a hurry. Those go
that's
out
the
window
thing
on August 1st.
And not just that, like, forget about August 1st. Like, let's do it after, like, week 4, because, those teams come out even week 1, right? And you mentioned Tyler Shook, right? Like, maybe he comes out and balls out in week 1, and everyone's like, oh, my God, where the hell did this guy come from?
Same for Cam Ward.
100%, right? Yeah. But then by week 4, the NFL has kind of got some tape on him and is like, they're not quite as good as we thought they were going to be. You know what I mean? So Or the other way around could happen, where they both come out and stink, and then they figure something out. So we just don't know how things are going to play out, and not everything plays out the way that we want it to, unfortunately.
Yeah. I will also
okay.
say here to Nikhil one last thing, and we'll get back to it. He says that there are a lot of teams that are beatable on the schedule. Oh, I 100% agree. I think most of the teams on this schedule the Patriots can't beat. Problem is the Patriots lost a lot of games to beatable teams last year. Like that Jaguars game was a game the Patriots should have won by multiple scores, and they lost by multiple scores based on just looking at how we thought those rosters were last year going into that game.
Well, and again, I just want to reiterate, the Patriots won 4 games last year. They were 4-13. They had the best roster. They had the worst roster in football. The worst roster in football. Now, Mike Vrabel and Elliott Wolf and Alonzo Highsmith and all those guys over there have done a great job of revamping the roster, right? And I think that's great. You've brought in a ton of guys. But I don't know how any of those guys are going to play. I like the fact they brought in Epps. He's coming off a serious injury. I like the fact they brought in Diggs. He's coming off a serious injury. I like the fact they brought in Robert Spillane. But you've gutted your entire linebacking core is gutted, and you're putting in brand new guys that have never played here before, except for Jelani Tavai. Which I'm not holding my breath about Jelani Tavai. Sorry. So that's one of those things where you look at it and just say hey, that's the way it goes. I know the Commanders are 4-13 in 2023. I get that. I understand that. But not every team can have a quick turnaround like that. It was a perfect storm for them. Jaden Daniels played at an MVP level for half of the year. And so and it was a perfect storm. And by the way, don't even think about comparing Stephon Diggs to Terry McLaurin. Don't even think about it. Don't even start with that. Because Terry McLaurin is an incredible player, and Stephon Diggs is a good player. I like Stephon Diggs. He's not Terry McLaurin. Not. He isn't.
Well, at this point in his career.
Correct.
He's and it's I like a lot of the moves the Patriots made, but I think a lot of them are long-term focused culture ones, and
right.
They changed over the linebacking core. I like a lot of these players. It was really rough last year, and I would like to see how this unit looks. I want to see what their scheme is going to be before I'm going to buy into it being better. And by the way, you guys think I'm being very low on this team. I still end up, I'll spoil the ending here, still end up with the Patriots winning 7 games, a 3-win improvement from last year, and right at their projected win total for this season.
Yeah.
This
is the thing, is that it's not, I think if we go into this year with they're going to compete and they're going to, push the Bills for the AFC East or whatever, I don't know. I look at it and I'm just all right, slow down, everyone. Slow down.
Yeah.
And again, if the best case scenario happens for a ton of different things, that's awesome. But that's not the case. I don't know.
Well,
Nikhil,
Nikhil's saying that 7 games is terrible, by the way. That is the projected win total. It's 7 or 8 games is what bettors are projecting the Patriots will do. And maybe they do outperform that. And I hope they do outperform that. But
right.
7 games is a 3-win improvement from last year. From where this team is, that is good.
And again, 7 games isn't low for this team. Vegas has the over-under at 7.5.
That is average for this team.
That's
low for this team would be
right there.
5. Yeah.
So, it is what it is. Anyways, all right, let's continue. Listen, I have them at 5-3, by the way. You have them 3-5. I have them at 5-3 right now. We're going to week 9. It is home against the Falcons, Sunday, November 2nd, 1:00 again.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The Falcons are a good team. They're a good team. I like what I saw from Michael Penix last year. I think that they're a team that's on the rise, and I think they win. I think that the Falcons win this game. The Patriots lose to the Falcons at home.
I have the Patriots winning this game.
Of course you do. Yep.
And it's mostly because I don't think the Falcons can rush the passer at all, and I think that, their secondary is fine. Jesse Bates is a very good player. Adrian Terrell is a very good player. They have some really good pieces in that secondary, but I think he'll actually have some real time to sit back there and dice up this defense. And you give Drake May time, these weapons are good enough to shine, especially the tight ends that they have. I think you can run the ball on the Falcons. I think you can score on this team. I just don't I like Penix. I was not as high on everyone was on him last year. I think May is significantly better than him and will outplay him in this game. I think you look at these receivers. All right, you want someone on Drake London, you want a Christian Gonzalez type.
Yeah.
Or even, oh my God, Carlton Davis, who can just be physical and get up in his grill. Ray McLeod and Darnell Mooney and Kyle Pitts are not scaring me outside of that. Like, you can contain them. Michael Penix will throw picks. I don't love this Falcons offensive line. I don't think this is a bad Falcons team. But, I don't know. Patriots at home. I like this matchup a lot for New England. I think they end up winning it.
All right. So you got them at 5-4. I have them. I'm sorry, 4-5. I have them at 5-4. Next game, week 10 in Tampa Bay. And I think Tampa is by far the best team in the NFC South. I think actually they're probably going to be competing. I wouldn't say for the number one spot, but I would say that they can push some of these teams. I think they're a good team. I like Baker quite a bit. And so I think that the Buccaneers win this game. The Patriots drop back to 500 at 5-5.
Yeah, I have the Buccaneers here. I just think there's too much difference between these teams, and it's not unwinnable. If injuries strike for the Bucs, but they have a really solid receiving core, a lot of deep talent there. Baker Mayfield's a good player. I just think they're the better team. It's not unwinnable for the Pats, but this feels like it's just one that on the road it's probably going to be in some heat.
Yeah. All right, so you have them at 4-6. I have them at 5-5. After 10 games, we're gonna get through the rest of this. Just as a reminder, to download and subscribe to all the CLNS media networks, whether that's Taylor Kyles and Mike Cadlick or Greg Bedard or any of the fantastic people that cover the Celtics as well. So as we talked about at the beginning of the show. So next up, Patriots come back home, week 11, at home against the Jets on Thursday night, Amazon Prime. Here's what I'm going to tell you about the Jets. Okay? Here's what I'm going to tell you. The Jets stink. We all know the Jets stink. We know that. Yeah. We know the Jets stink. I'm going to tell you right now. Just prepare yourself. I'm going to tell you right now. They're going to split with the Jets next year. They're not sweeping the Jets. The Patriots are not a good enough team to sweep anyone. They're going to split with the Jets. And so I think they win this game and they lose in New York, but they're going to lose one of these games.
That's exactly how I have it. I do think it's weird that the Patriots have to travel to Tampa and then come back home and play on a short week. I don't love that. But it's a short week for the Jets too. I don't think Justin Fields is that good. I liked a lot of the moves the Jets made this offseason overall, but like this roster, they're building for the future. This is a roster for 2026, 2027. There's good players on it. Like you see how they could win games here if the offensive line pans out. Both the tackles are good. Garrett Wilson's a real player. Lazard and Josh Reynolds, I think, complement him well, although you really want more talent there. Right. Mason Taylor, I like. He, to me, was more of a year two guy.
Yeah.
And, there's pass rushers here, but it's not, I don't know. I think, again, probably low-scoring game, but especially now as you're getting deeper into the season and your team's starting to come together and you're figuring things out, I like the Pats in this one.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, so you have them at 5-6. I have them at 6-5 in Cincinnati the next weekend, Sunday, November 23rd, 1:00 game again in Cincinnati. And I know Cincinnati's been hurt. I know they've been banged up a ton. I know they have a whole bunch of crap going on with Trey Hendrickson right now, and it's a complete mess. And they're just kind of a joke of an organization. Like they're a team that should be competing for a championship, and instead they're doing this crap
with their defensive end to pay him less money.
Right. And it's just like, what the hell are you doing? Just pay the guy for God's sakes. You paid Jamar Chase, just pay him too. Like, stop being stupid. They can get out of their own way. That being said, I still think they're a good team. And I think they still win this game.
Yeah.
And so so I have the Patriots losing this game and dropping back to 500, 6-6.
I'm right there with you. I do think Randy makes a good point that with a little extra rest against a team like Cincinnati, you might be able to pull this
Yeah.
off. Like that's a team that if the defense isn't any better and like continues to free fall, yeah, you beat them at Cincinnati last year with Jacoby Brissett, and it's a different roster. I think you got very lucky at points in that game.
Oh, for
Joe
sure.
Burrow played a lot better for the rest of the season than he played in that one. But
Yeah.
like you go out there, you play a good game, you have a good game plan going into it, you can 100% steal this game and be a thorn in their side. Randy has made a good argument in there about, like he almost persuaded me to switch this over to a W, but I'm not quite there. Wouldn't surprise me to see the Patriots pull off this upset, but I think it would have to be an upset. I got the Bengals.
Yeah, I agree. And Paper Waves kind of says it like Cincinnati always starts slow every year, and then by the end of the year they're humming. And this is like right around that time, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, when like things are really ramping up. And so we'll see what happens. And listen, Randy has made a few good points about Cincinnati. They do say they do have the Ravens on Thanksgiving night. So short week coming off after the Patriots, maybe they look past the Patriots a little bit in that moment. But I don't know. I think that the Bengals come out on top in this game, in my opinion. So I have them. So then I have them back to 6-6. And then they come home against the Giants Monday, December 1st, Monday Night Football at home against the Giants. And the Giants are just a complete mess. I guess Jackson Dart is their quarterback, I guess.
Well, I don't know who's going to be playing for them at this point because it could be Dart, it could be Russell Wilson, it could be Jameis Winston. I don't think it'll matter. I think the Patriots might just straight up blow the doors off them on this game.
I think they stink. I think they absolutely stink. And so, for me, I look at this as a clear win. And so I got them at 7-6 now. Do you have them at 7-7? No. How do you have them
6-7?
Right 6-7. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's like between this, the Carolina game, and the Vegas game. Like those are three that if you are the team you think you are, you should win all three of those, and at least two of those you should win by a decent margin.
Yeah. And so,
but like these are also the games like that one against the Commanders a couple of years ago that they lost 20-17, or they lost to the Giants that year, and
right,
we've seen them lose these games.
Yep, and the thing about the Patriots is that, and as much as I love what they've done, and as much as I am excited to see them, and as much as I think that they're going to be significantly improved from last year, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be competing for a championship or getting into the playoffs. And I think that, and look, I do think that this is now a situation where you look at it and say, okay, the Patriots, let's just say in my scenario, the Patriots are 7-6. And we're like, all right, we're feeling okay about where we're at, 7-6. This last 4 game stretch is huge, right? Because you get the bye in week 14 and you finish the last game. You finish out the season. Home against the Bills, at Baltimore, at the Jets, which theoretically is a winnable game, and then home against the Dolphins. And I think you'll be okay against the Dolphins, but I'm very concerned about those 3 other games. And if you're 8-9, I don't know if you can get that. So anyway, let's talk about that Bills game, 1:00. I'm sorry. Again, I just like the Bills. You're talking about the Bills trying to compete for a championship, and I don't know if they can get the number 1 seed. But I think that the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs, again, will be fighting for that number 1 seed in the AFC. This is a game where the Bills will not be looking at. They will not be looking past us. They want to come in here and smoke us. And I don't know if they'll smoke us, but I do think that the Bills win this game. And so now I have them dropping back down to 7-7.
Yeah, I think. First of all, I don't think the Patriots win this game. I think you got a chance. I think your real goal here. The Sunday night game this week is Minnesota at Dallas. Minnesota is relying on J.J. McCarthy. I don't think Dallas is very good.
Dallas stinks.
That is a game that could get flexed.
They won't flex them out because it's Dallas.
But here's the thing. I think your goal is to play well enough that going into the bye week, people are at least talking about flexing this game into it. Because if you have won, I had the team at 6-7 going into the bye week. Not hard for that to be 8-5 instead.
Yeah.
If you're able to win 2 close games in there, 2 extra close games, and if you're 8-5, all right, that's probably an 8-5 team against a 10-3 team with real AFC East implications, real playoff implications in the AFC, and people were talking about getting this flexed. That's where you want to be. I don't think you win this. It does remind me though of like Mac Jones in his rookie year. You had the late bye, which again I hate. This is the 3rd time in 5 seasons they've had a
it
week
drives me
14
crazy,
bye.
the super late bye.
They've had a bye week 10 or later in I think 8 of the last 9 seasons. Why?
And maybe they like it that way, but I don't know.
Maybe they
I don't like it. Players have talked about they don't like it either. You kind of get in that rhythm, and then all of a sudden you have a bye.
Yeah, but they played the Bills at home. They went to Buffalo. They win the game. You have the bye week. You come back. I think it was week 16, so another week later. But they play the Bills at home, and they lose that like 33-21 at one where it was just like you didn't play that bad, but it was clear that you were a tier worse than the Bills. And I feel like that's probably how this goes. But if this team, if the offensive line is a little bit better than I'm expecting it to be, if you're able to get a little bit of a pass rush, and May takes that leap that we're all hoping he takes, this is winnable. And this is the kind of game that I think is going to be huge for them.
It's really fascinating, and because as we go through and we predict these games, we're predicting them on May 14th here, right? Like there's a lot of things that could happen between now and then. It's a great point, right? They could be, instead of the 6-7 you predicted, instead of the 7-6 that I predicted, they could be 8-5. They could even be 9-4. I don't see that happening, but they could be. And so if that's the case, we look at it and we say, okay, like now they have a real shot to make the playoffs, right? And so I think that that's a situation where you look at it and say, like, okay, wow, we feel like really good about where the Patriots are headed, right? But it's not a situation. I think that I'm not. Everyone here, right, is, and I don't blame you in the comments, right? Right. Everyone here is looking at the glass half full, right? And we're not necessarily saying the glass is half empty, but we're saying it's not half full either, And so Paper Waves, we are on the Bills game after the bye, and so I have the Patriots losing that game. I have them at 7-7. Matt has them at 6-8. Also, Dan, happy birthday today. Happy birthday. He's got him at 10-7, and so we appreciate you coming through, Dan. Thank you very much. By the way, I took the under for the wins this year. So just so we all know. By the way, I'm going to predict them higher than that, but I took the under for the wins.
Hedging, yeah, that's a smart play.
So because if I had taken the over, they would have never made it, and I would have been pissed. So, but nevertheless, so okay, next one at the Ravens. This is week 16 at the Ravens, 1:00. Come on.
That's the hardest game on their schedule. Yeah, that's a loss. Maybe they win it if someone's hurt. Like with this if you're winning this one, everything has hit for you. If you're winning this one, you might be in contention for winning the AFC East.
Right. Correct. Yes, absolutely. I agree with you on that. So
okay, hold on. Nikhil says you guys are acting like we're still starting Vidarian Lowe and Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne might be starting this year, and if Will Campbell has to play guard instead of tackle, we will be starting Vidarian Lowe this year.
Which I don't think is going to be the case, but Matt does. I don't think it's going to be the case.
I think he plays at tackle, but like Bourne's probably your wide receiver 4. Vidarian Lowe might see playing time this year. Like he's your tackle 3 right now.
Right.
These guys are not that. They're in the rear view mirror, but they are not that far in the rear view mirror.
I agree. All right. So I have them at 7-8. You have them at 6-9, I guess. 6-9. Yeah. And again, I already said, sadly, we talked about the Jets already. I have them splitting with the Jets. So I have them winning the first matchup. I have them losing this matchup. It puts them at 7-9. And so, that's just I understand. I get it. It's the freaking Jets. Like we should beat the Jets, but I don't feel good enough about this team to say they're going to sweep anyone. Now, I don't feel bad enough about this team to say they're going to get swept by anyone other than the Bills, obviously. But but I just don't see them sweeping. By the way, Randy's still holding this thing about you said about Tyler Shough saving the Saints. You literally made an offhanded comment about we have no idea what's going to happen. Maybe Tyler Shough comes out and is incredible. Like you made an offhanded comment about it. You're not saying he's going to. You're just saying he could be. You have no idea.
Like outside of the quarterback position, the Saints have a better roster than the Patriots do from everything we know right now.
Right.
So like Shough doesn't have to outplay May to win that game either. Like I expect May to be the better quarterback on the field for the majority of the games that they're going to play this season. I think the problem is you're just not going to have the weapons or the protection necessary to turn that into wins and losses yet. You're trying to get better there, and then 2026 is the year where it starts to really come together.
Yeah.
Because Drake May is a guy who can be top 10 quarterback, top 5 quarterback. Like, he's got that potential. And I think he's going to be better this year. Production-wise, he was like QB 25 or something last year, something in that world. He's a top 20 quarterback this season, top 15 by production. I am stoked about that given the circumstances around him.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to add one other thing because it bothers me when people say this. Somebody mentioned that I have hated Campbell ever since the day I found out he had short arms. I scouted Will Campbell like this point last year without having read anything on him, watched him play and said, you can see that he has short arms. And then I looked up and it was like, oh, a lot of NFL people think he's going to be a guard at the next level, including like Brandon Thorne, who's considered like the gold standard for this type of stuff. And he met my arm threshold. He measured 33. It's not the arm measurement. It's the fact that his arms aren't as long as you like, and the other stuff that shows up on tape.
Right.
I don't think Will Campbell's going to be a bad player, but I don't like him against like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt.
Right. Look,
Trey Hendrickson if he plays for the Bengals.
I think we don't have to. I think one thing that we have to understand, right? And I get it. The schedule came out today. We're all excited, right? We're all excited. We want to sit here and talk about the Celtics just won tonight. The Patriots have a chance. Like, we're going to be great this year. It's going to be awesome, guys. Things are going to be different than it was last year. And I do think that things are going to be different than they were last year. Last year, you were horrendous. Last year, you had the number 1 pick until the Bills literally lost the game on purpose so you could win and get the number 4 pick instead of the number 1 pick. You had the number 1 pick last year. You won the last game because the Bills literally gave you the game. They tried to lose. That's why you won your 4th game. So you should have won 3 games last year. And your roster, by the way, like, that was legitimate. It's not like, oh, man, we were so much better than half of those teams. And I think we could have competed with those teams. We had a terrible team last year, a terrible team. And so if you predict them for 7 or 8 wins this year, you're talking about winning 3 or 4 more games than they did last year. That's significant. That's really significant. Let's not say that we think the Patriots suck because we don't have them winning 12 games this year. Let's also not forget, this is the same podcast, that in 2023, picked the Patriots to go 11-6, and they went 4-13.
We thought they were going to be a playoff team.
We've been burned before, okay? So we're just being a little bit more down to earth and a little bit more like, okay, let's just pump the brakes on everything that we think, and maybe we'll be wrong, and they'll go 12-5, and that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay? But,
I also, Nikhil's saying where I think they're going to suck for the next 20 years. I don't think that's the case. I think you got the quarterback right. That's the most important thing. You probably got the coach right, too. The issue is that this year is
9, they're on the way up.
Yeah. The issue is that right now your roster's not that good, and a lot of this year is going to be about figuring out which guys you don't want to keep in 2026 so you can win in 2026. Like, this team's still a year away from being a contender playoff team where they should be with this quarterback and some of the other talent that you're developing. Like, I guess I'm not as high on Will Campbell as other people are. I still think he can be a very good player, and even if he does end up switching to guard, he can be a very good guard for you. There might just be some hiccups on the way there. That's fine.
Right.
I don't think, even if Will Campbell ends up being a Pro Bowler, I don't think he's not a Joe Alt level guy where he's going to come in and be a Pro Bowl caliber tackle for you day one. I just don't think he's that guy. I think there's going to be some adjustment, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Your goal, if you win this year, that's awesome. The goal of this season is to figure out how you win in 2026, and
I agree.
And develop May in the process.
I agree. So, all right, last game of the season at home against the Dolphins. Not sure if it's going to be Saturday, Sunday, what day, what night, what time it's going to be. Who knows, right? I have this as a win. I assume you have this as a win. The Dolphins coming up in the cold weather. By this time of year, they're probably going to just be like, we're done. We quit. And so that puts my final record at 8-9 and your final record at 7-10. And I think that, I think 8-9 for me, I feel like 8-9 is respectable. I feel like you look at it and say like, okay, you're getting better. We're not there yet. We're not competing yet, but we're on the way up, right? We're on the rise, and we might finish third in the division, right? But that's okay. That's okay. I think that, and again, and this is where like we have them struggling against garbage teams. The Patriots were a garbage team last year.
They were a
garbage team last year. Again, they had the number one pick. Right? They had the number one pick until the Bills intentionally lost. Right? And by the way, Nikhil, don't even. We've been through enough. No, you haven't. I don't know how old you are, Nikhil, but you haven't been through enough, okay? That's not true. That's not true.
Greatest franchise in the NFL. We have stunk for a couple years now. We're still like 6 years removed from a Super Bowl win. Like
nobody in the history of the NFL has had it better than us. Nobody. And my dad was there in the 60s when they were awful. And they got a legitimate standing ovation for crossing the 50-yard line. Okay? Like an actual standing ovation in the fourth quarter for crossing the 50-yard line. Right? Like that's how bad they were in the 60s. Okay? Don't sit there and tell me we've been through enough. No, we haven't. We've lived a privileged life here up in New England. Okay, 2021 they made the playoffs for God's sakes. They went 10-7 with a rookie quarterback made the playoffs. Like,
to be clear here, we're not interested in fairness. We're not interested in us sucking for a while because we were good for a while. We want to win this year. I don't think the roster is quite there yet.
Yeah. And by the way, are we both going to be like shocked beyond belief if instead of going 7-9 or 7-10 or 8-9 that they somehow get to 10 or 11 wins? I think it's possible. I think there's certainly a chance. I just think that one of those things. I'm looking at the roster, just saying like, I don't know if they can get there. Maybe they can win some of these games, and maybe these teams come out and they're worse than I think they're going to be. I think the Falcons are going to be a pretty good team. I think they're going to push Tampa for that number one seed, for that number one spot in not number one seed, for the number one spot in the NFC South. I do. I think they're going to be a pretty good team. And so like we have some of these games that I see them losing. Maybe you think the team is trash. I think the team's okay. And so if the Patriots finish this year 8-9, that's a win for me. They're doubling their amount of wins. That's pretty good. I feel like we should at least all walk away happy with that. And maybe they lose some close games. And maybe Drake may make some bad mistakes in some of those games and they lose. That's part of him growing. He hasn't even started a full year yet. Like let's relax a little bit. And kind of pump the brakes just a bit.
Yeah. Well, I think somebody asked for a Drake May statistical projection for me. Like he had 2,300 passing yards, a little under 500 rushing yards last year. So we're looking at 2,800 total yards. I want him to get up to he's should play more. Right. When you add that into it, I'm looking for 4,000 total yards between passing and rushing.
Right.
Give me at least 25, maybe 30 combined touchdowns. Yeah. And I don't want to see the turnover numbers go up. Like I don't want to see at 10 picks. I don't really want to see it go higher than that if we can avoid that.
I would agree.
Maybe 12. Fewer fumbles too.
Yeah.
So, and
You
that's what I'm
know,
looking for. And I think if he hits those numbers, this team's going to be competitive. I think if you're looking for an example we used last year, Bill Belichick's first year in New England, that team goes 5-11, and they were like 2-10 in one score games, or 2-9 in one score games, something crazy like that. And that I think is probably that might be what this ends up looking like, where like every single one of these games, except for maybe that game at Baltimore, will be close and will be competitive into the fourth quarter. You just don't have the horses to go beyond that. And I know that there's been talk about Mike Vrabel saying you got to punish bad football. They did not do a good enough job of that last year. I'm not convinced they have the guys to consistently do that this year. They should be better at it.
right.
They'll win more games. 2026, I think, is when you're going to continue with talent influx and try to go, you get the 7 or 8 wins this year. And then you're looking at 2026 as being 10, 11, 12 win team if the ascent can continue when you can add more guys.
Yeah, I agree. So, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, but I see in the chat saying Carolina, New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland, the Jets. That's 6 easy wins. Team lost to Tennessee last year. Lost to the Jets last year.
Right.
And those teams, all those guys, all those teams have players that they're excited that they added.
Yeah,
Like
and again, I look at the Jets and I feel like they at least know what they're doing, right? They drafted a left tackle last year. They drafted a right tackle this year. Like they got some players. I think they're going to be okay. They also have the best receiver on either team. And it's by the way, it's not close. It's not close.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me at least, I look at it and say, like, all right, like maybe they're not, and I don't think they're good enough to sweep the Patriots, but I do think that they're good enough that both those games will be close, and that statistically you feel like the Jets will win one and the Patriots will win one because they're two fairly evenly matched teams, I think, and so I can see them splitting. Again, they're not getting swept by the Jets, but I do think that it's reasonable to think that they lose one of the Jets games. Like I think it's reasonable to think that they lose one of the Dolphins games. And I think game early in the year makes a ton of sense for them to lose.
Those 4 games combined between the Jets and the Dolphins, I think they probably split. Maybe they sweep one of those teams and get swept by the other one. That's football's pretty random here. That can happen. But people are asking like, oh, why are you acting like the Browns are like a tough opponent? We're only a year removed from being the number 1 defense in the NFL in yards and like a middle of the pack offense, and like, they don't have any good quarterbacks on the roster, but they have good coaches.
Yeah.
I really like Mason Graham, Myles Garrett. Like, there's some talent there. And they played like some close games last year that they ended up losing. So, and they also had to start like Bailey Zappi down the stretch last season. There was a point last year where they were just totally giving up.
When you have the defense that the Browns have, you can compete in any game. Doesn't mean you're going to win those games, but that defense can keep you competitive. Yeah. And then, hey, someone makes a mistake here, someone throws an interception there, someone drops a pass here, and next thing you know, you lose the game that you probably should have won. And so that's that's the way I look at it. With the Browns game, I think they're going to beat the Browns, but I can certainly see them losing that game, and that's one of those things, and so you never know.
Yeah.
So
I think that's it for us here.
That's it. That's all we got. A reminder: make sure you download and subscribe to all the CLNS podcast networks. I've told you this already, but all the guys over there on the football side of it, killing it, crushing it. I mean, Jesus Christ, if you're not watching Taylor and Mike Hadlick, I don't know what you're doing.
And if you want to feel better after this stream, go watch what Taylor had to
say.
Watch
with them. Go watch them. They had 11, 12 wins. We're good to go. Yeah. And chat, by the way, we're never mad at you. We appreciate you coming on. Paperwave said, sorry, we roasted you. That's okay. I am, listen, we're here for it. We're here for it. We appreciate you being here. Your takes are always welcome. As long as they're respectful to everyone, we appreciate that. And we love you guys as well. And so thank you for coming through and for watching as always. And, now we know where the games are and, when they're going to be. This is great. It's always a fun week. So anyways, enjoy that. We'll be back with you next week. And we'll see you there. So be good to each other and go Pats.